Minister, Dr. Ato Forson.
Beginning this year, we will formalize the export of Ghanaian labor to other countries. We will ensure a structured and beneficial system for Ghanaian workers seeking employment abroad and create safer legal pathway for them to work in foreign countries whilst protecting their rights and welfare. Mr. Speaker, this will also reduce illegal migration, prevent worker exploitation, and maximize the economic benefits of remittance and boost foreign exchange earnings. Mr. Speaker, I now take you to how these resources will be allocated in the year 2025. Mr. Speaker, we will provide a cedi equivalent of $279 million as a revolving fund for the Ghana Gold Board to be able to purchase and export at least 3 tons of gold per week from small-scale miners. Gold Board. Purchase and export at least 3 tons of gold per week from small-scale miners. We inherited an economy in deep crisis. Mr. Speaker, an economy hard hit with debt and beset by other fiscal challenges, such as large accumulation of MDRS, energy sector shortfalls, and financial sector payments. At the end of December 2024, total central government arrests amounted to 67.5 billion Ghana cedis, representing 5.2% of GDP. We remain committed to the pursuit of our 24-hour economic policy at stimulating economic growth and job creation. Right Honourable Speaker, will be presenting the 24-hour economic policy to Parliament in due course.
So that was the Finance Minister, and these are just excerpts of what he said in Parliament, because yesterday there were varied reactions to what the Finance Minister had said. Some thought the budget was humane, it was the best, document read to us in many years. Some said, it was hollow, there was nothing in there. Typical majority-minority thing. We want to have a conversation with some experts about, this. But from your perspective, as a Ghanaian, what did the budget say to you?
For me, I think it was one of the simplest budgets, simplest quote-unquote, that we had. The language, I'm first looking at the language of the budget. Right. It wasn't above anybody's heads. It was something that the ordinary person who hasn't received that level of education could even understand. Right. But also the fact that the minister went ahead to talk about what had been promised, the removal of the e-levy, the betting tax, and all of that. That was something that a lot of people were expecting, and indeed they had that. The only thing that I got a bit surprised about was we didn't seem to have a lot of detail about the 24-hour economy, which is one of the trump cards of the governing NDC. And so the expectation, from our side, was that at least there would be an idea as regards what kind of structures, for instance, the government right now is putting in place. Yes, the budget needs approval from Parliament, of course, after debate and all of that, but at least to have an idea that a lot of people have argued that 24-hour economy cannot function on an economy that doesn't have industries or doesn't have a lot of work. So I was expecting that there will be a lot more detail in terms of what structures have been put in place. But overall, I thought that it was not too much, extreme.
Bible verses and quite...
as for the Bible verses, is a style that Kenoforiata chose.
But yesterday I listened to the Finance Minister, and he said that, look, the 24-hour economy will be hinged on the Labour Law Act 651/2003. Yeah. And there is nothing like the 24-hour structure within the confines of the Labour Act 653. Yeah. So you need to look at that and also look at the GIPC law. Okay. And then put in the necessary amendments. Yeah. And then bring them to Parliament for approval, because it's only Parliament that can do that.
Yesterday he called for a lot of amendments of even the Public Procurement Act and so many others.
Because most of the things that they are proposing will be hinged on those new additions or subtractions from the law. If you go ahead to impose a tax handle that is not grounded in law, somebody could sue you for it.
Certainly.
If I am, running a tabletop business, or if I'm running a small scale enterprise, or an SME, or a medium SME, and I am playing by the GIPC books, and you decide that you're going to bring in a 24-hour economy that is going to jeopardize my business, I will take you on, because I'm looking at the investment, I'm looking at human capital, I'm looking at the time, I'm looking at my energy, resources, I'm looking at my creativity, I'm looking at all the mix I put in to make the work, profitable. And I'm looking at scaling up and expanding and getting more people and being profitable to pay you taxes. You can't just wake up one day and say because you had an ambition, ahead of political season, so hey, we go ahead with that.
But again, I heard you talk about experts. I mean, reactions have come from both experts and, of course, the minority in Parliament. But it amazed me yesterday that, after the budget presentation, we had some experts right here in the studio to give us their preliminary thoughts of it. Exactly. But beyond that, last night, I was also impressed on agenda that we had AGI president, the CEO, we had Guta president, and we had an economist, Professor Patrick Esumi. I'm sure you know him.
Right, I know Patrick.
All the three of them agreeing that it seemed the budget gave them something. For AGI, that's the association that involves individuals that have companies, and a lot of people have spoken about the working environment,
of the country,
the business environment that we have. So to have the AGI CEO admitting that this was a step in a positive direction, then it means that it gave them hope. Guta as well. You remember one of the things the finance minister said, and it was actually the beginning, almost like the preliminary comment he made before going into details, was that ahead of the budget presentation, he had gone to town. There had been surveys to find out really what was the major concern of Ghanaians, and the major one was the CD dollar depreciation. And so when he came into the details, he talked about the 24-hour economy, for instance, going to deal with the problem, also substituting import with production. And then he talked about other stuff. If you are looking at substituting production and with imports or import with production, it means that you're going to affect the work of Guta, because they are the ones who are importing.
But you see, when Guta makes that argument, and they are asking for tax cuts, I look at it. Look, once upon a time in this country, Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah set up so many state-owned enterprises that were producing stuff.
Textiles,
books, ceramics, and vehicles, and radio and TV sets, electronics, name it, sugar, everything. We're producing nearly everything. So our dependency on the world outside was very minimal, to say the least. And that was why he could go around talking tough, because he knew that, look, if you shut me down and you say you will not give me, I'm doing my stuff in here, my people will feed anyway, my people are happy, they're in support. But fast forward to this era and the era before that, at least the Fourth Republic, if you look at it from a wider view, Guta has always been asking for tax cuts. And then the question I asked is, are they asking for tax cuts to be able to import or to be able to produce?
And that was actually something...
Because the more you import, the more you enrich the country you are importing from.
Certainly.
And the more you help that country to create jobs, and the more you help that country to be stronger in terms of the economy, their foreign exchange.
Because you're importing with their currency.
Exactly. And then what it will mean is that you will now be tied to their apron strings. So going forward, Guta must have a plan to say that, look, yes, we want the tax cuts, but this is our alternative agenda. Everything that Guta imports into this country has been produced in this country before.
But you see, that was where I was going, that I was amazed by their thoughts and stance yesterday, because we didn't seem to have the Guta president having a challenge with that proposal from the finance minister that we are going to substitute imports with production. Because what he said was that, okay, if you're cutting these taxes, it means that more money into our pocket. And ideally, what we would also want is to stop importing so that we have the necessary resources and the good environment for us to also go into industry. So there was really
for me, this has been told to us before, that we're moving from taxation to production. You remember that?
Which is why we had a 1D1F.
We're moving away from the Gudgesbergen economy. Now, the understanding we got around the campaign time in 2016 was not to have existing factories, most of which are not of Ghanaian origin or ancestry, being given monies to, say, expand and employ more people, and then the expansion happens, but the employment doesn't come. You get the point. So they have benefited from the taxes of the people. They have expanded their operations.
Employ them.
They are producing. They are exporting to neighboring countries, and people are consuming whatever it is that they are producing here. But the benefit that the people were expecting to get in terms of the employment numbers was not what was served to them. In fact, at some point, some citizens called those factories paint mumming top, because we know a factory that existed already. You know, a factory like B5, you know, a factory like Zoomlion, you know, all those factories that were on the 1D1F, save a few, were factories that we already knew to be in existence. So that was not the concept. I would wish that this new finance minister and his economic management team would focus on the industrialization drive. And there are many things that we can produce in this country if we put our minds to it.
Indeed.
Look, rice has a gestation period of about 3 to 4 months. Same as maize, same as tomatoes.
I think tomatoes even shorter.
Yes. Now, if you look at your import list, rice, sugar, oil, chicken. Yeah. They are your top 4.
Well, we also do onions and tomatoes, a lot of them.
Well, we do, but if you look at, I'm talking about the top 4. These are your top 4. So, can you produce oil in this country, which will be owned by a Ghanaian business? Can you produce sugar in this country, which will be owned by a Ghanaian business? Because this morning, the cocoa I drank and the tea that somebody would drink, would be sipping on now, and the coffee, etc., the sugar that's in it doesn't come from here.
What happened to the sugar factory in the central region?
Commander Sugar Factory. But in Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's days, we had the sugar factory in that same part of town. So it tells you that if we actually are very focused, and I was talking about rice, we have 2 agric seasons or planting seasons. So 3 months, we're done. If we properly irrigate, right, and we follow the examples of other, not necessarily build a huge dam, but we have those pipelines running under the cocoa, trees and all of that. We're making a lot of, irrigation. January to March, we can harvest. April to June, we can harvest. July to September, we can harvest. October to December, we can harvest. So you now have 2 more cycles adding on. Even if it takes away 500 metric tons of what the 1.5 and more that you are importing, calculate how much money that would be.
I mean, the ideas obviously are there, so it tells you that it's just the political will to ensure that we go through with these ideas. And I was having a conversation with someone about 3 days ago, and the person, that was exactly on Sunday, that's 3 days ago, the person was concerned about how much salt this country has along the coastal areas from the eastern region all the way through a lot of communities. And yet, we are not able to even produce as much as we are supposed to. And salt is so expensive, especially in Europe. I don't know of US, especially the rock salts that we have here that we buy so cheaply in our markets. I think 5 cedis you get like 3. How they've tied it and all of that. There's so much we can do. There's so many natural resources that we can harvest, give a lot of people jobs that we are not doing. So the idea is there, but how do we push it through with political will and the willingness on the part of everybody really to ensure that we are producing our own stuff, reducing import and making money?
Well, a breakdown of Ghana's top 10 imports in 2024, cereal, grains worked out, but not rolled out or flaked. So then you had 3.37 billion Ghana cedis. That's 1.3% of the total, breakdown of how much we imported into this country. Then you have diesel, automotive gas oil, AGO, that's what they call it, or for tour, that's 28.93 billion. That's 11.6% of the total. And then you talk about light oils, motor, spirit, super, that's 24.12 billion. That's 9.6% of what it is. And then self-propelled bulldozers with 360 revolving superstructure, that's 6.20 billion. That's 2.5% of the total. You can go into clinker and talk about why cement is expensive. Spend 4.83 billion cedis. That's 1.9%. Then you used vehicles, second-hand vehicles. That's what they call them. 4.20 billion cedis. That's 1.7% of the total breakdown of the top 10. And then you're talking about petroleum oils and obtained from bitumen, minerals that are connected and related, crude. That's 3.34 billion. That's 1.3% of the total. Now you look at all of this, and kerosene, jet fuel, we literally import everything.
Yeah.
And I was telling somebody the other time that look at our Ghana Club 100, right? You can call them our blue chip companies, top earners. The first 10, I don't know if there's a Ghanaian company on it now, but the last time I checked, the first 10 had no Ghanaian company in your country.
Yeah.
So what it means is that the money is made here from your people, by your people, and the money is taken outside, is repatriated. We need to change the narrative. If not, we'll be beggars forever. And I thought that Ghana Beyond Aid was going to achieve that for us. Because if you look at the policy document and you read it, it was solid. Implementation was a problem.
It doesn't make sense that after 68 years of independence, you're still begging, you still need foreign aid to support your budget, a huge chunk of it. And sometimes the examples are giving of South Africa. You had independence before South Africa. Examples are giving of Rwanda, a country that has had genocide, that literally should have kept the country on its knees forever after that massive disaster, I would call it.
Right.
Examples are giving of Dubai, a complete desert country, and yet to look at what it has done, that country has done to an extent that now when it comes to traveling to touristic areas, especially on the lips of Ghanaians, Dubai is number one. Everybody wants to go to Dubai.
Yeah.
We have everything here.